Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you back, and in this video I'm not going to be going over any rods or reels or gears or ball bearings and handle knobs, yay. I'm going to go over some different forms of rigging, and this bait, it has a name. I'll tell you in a little bit. This bait is, I should say, this rigging technique I've been using for about, I don't know, 5 years or so. Just to give you a quick background, I don't like using treble hooks. And back before single replacement hooks were a thing, all you had were C-wash hooks or some different types of fly hooks, and it never worked out well. So I had to think of kind of creative ways to get a soft plastic single hook jerk bait down deeper, and Texas rig and Senkos and nail weighting stuff just got old. So this is how I developed this technique. And I call this technique the Scooby Through Rig. I also have a Scooby-Doo rig, because that's my tag on Strippers Online, Scooby-Doo. And I'll tell you what, if you guys have used it or seen it, let me know. I've never seen it before, ever. And I spend a lot of time on the forums during the wintertime. I'm constantly posting. I read a lot, I analyze a lot, and I've never seen anything even remotely similar come up. Ever. So I'm just going to share it with you guys. It's something that's produced a lot of large fish. It gives me different opportunities. It allows me to take advantage of baits that people don't buy and end up going on major sales. Kind of like these owner Nervous Rexes, I think these are. $1. And the way I rig them this way, they're spectacular. Just different ways you can make use of what you already have and be 100 times more productive. So if you're a fisherman like me, you want a few things out of your time on the water. You want to be productive, you want to be efficient, you want to learn new techniques. You don't want to always have to rely on a specific technique. You don't want to be limited to just being able to be effective with jigs, or, oh, I couldn't catch anything, and I was throwing a Senko all day and I'm screwed because all I know how to do is catch fish on Senkos. This is kind of a way you can kind of expand your presentation and expand your effectiveness with stuff you already have. Alrighty, so let's get into it. I'll give you an idea how certain baits like that are on the table will fish differently, and this applies to largemouth bass, smallmouth bass. You can use big 14-inch hoagies, like stuff like this, for striped bass. You can even use it for tuna. I've used it for triggerfish on the cans and pots. You've used it for mahi. You can use it for a ton of different types of fish. I'm telling you, it's pretty cool. Actually, don't use it for triggerfish, because what they'll do is they'll just start nipping around the hook, and it's more of a pain in the ass than anything. But all right, I don't want to waste any more of your time. Let's get into how this thing works. All right, starting off, I'm going to go over the things that you're going to need. And one item specifically, it's not necessary, but I like it. I use them. I find that it kind of makes it a little bit easier to rig. It's these little miniature O-rings, 1/32 of an inch inner diameter. They're tiny. And this is used to keep the rig from sliding off and to keep it from going up too far up the shank. It is helpful. If you don't have them and you don't want to spend the $7 online to buy them, you can use 30-pound braid or 20-pound braid and tie a uni knot against the shank. All right, that out of the way. Stuff you'll definitely need. You need a worm hook. I really like the owner worm hooks that have the center pin spring, the CPS hooks. They do rust a little bit, and what you'll find, if you do start fishing these rigs, you'll have to toss the hook, keep the spring, and keep your worm weight, because everything else rusts out, and you don't want to be tying knots on a rusty eyelet. I'll end up using like a Mustad fast hatch or a decoy spiral snap or something like that, so I don't have to worry about tying against a rusty eyelet. But it's something you have to consider, and they last so long, they get hung up so infrequently that they'll last a season. You'll be sharpening your owner hooks because they go dull from fish. How many people say that? Usually you get hung up, it's gone, you put another one. You'll keep these 5 packs of hooks for a while. All right, so aside from the worm hook, you'll need one of two things. Worm weights brass or tungsten or lead. Obviously, tungsten is the smallest. Or you can go with something like this. These are Rain's pencil leads. There's a new brand on Tackle Warehouse. It's, I forgot, it's Showstopper. I forgot the name of it. They're in the mail. I'm going to try them out. These are the decoys. As much as I love decoy hooks, when you guys check out my wacky weedless hook rig review, or weedless wacky hooks, I'm going to compare every single weedless wacky hook. I love the decoy finesses. You have the Rains, you have the decoy. The Rains I like better. You know, have them down to a 1/16 of an ounce, 1/8 ounce, 3/16. They work great. It's sometimes though having the warm weights works a little bit better. All right, so moving on. How do we rig it? What does it do? Why am I wasting your time with this crazy video? For starters, it's going to allow you to cast further. The big deal, you know, with all the lures nowadays is having a weight transfer system. With this rig, every time you make a cast, it goes to the back of the bait, helps you load the rod better, casts better. All right. It's more weedless. You no longer have to worry about a weight in the nose. It's going to swim more level. When the bait falls, when it sinks, the weight, you can see how it's kind of centering itself. It's always going to want to pull down from the center. So if the bait kind of buckles a little bit, it's going to find its natural center. The bait may not want to go down that way, but the weight sure as heck does. So that's going to give you some pretty interesting effects on the fall. Stuff that a keeled worm hook does not do. Baits that kind of have a asymmetrical profile, like a wide profile, they'll do a beautiful death spiral. They'll go like this. They'll shimmy and do a spiral on the way down. Not many baits do that. Not many rigging options allow you to get that kind of shimmy and spiral. This bait. This is probably one of the worst frog baits ever made. It was probably so bad, I think Berkley had to rename it, and they probably had so many left in stock, they slapped a different name on it and re-released it. This is the bait that everybody bought years ago, that you cast it out and it laid on its back, it did nothing, it was horrible. Even if you Texas rigged it or Carolina rigged it, it didn't know what way it was coming through the water. But I'm going to show you how to rig this bait. It's a game changer. It's Kermit the Frog. Look at me. Yeah, she'll catch, this thing will catch Miss Piggy for sure. All right. Moving on, I'm going to show you how to do the rigging. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, and bear with me. I'm just telling you, watch this, and if you've seen it before, tell me. Tell me in the comments. I've never seen it. I'm asking you guys. There's more of you than me, so you guys have a better idea if it's out there. I didn't see it. All right, so what we're going to do, step number one, you're going to take one of those little miniature O-rings and slide it up over the barb. Now you're going to be working around the hook point quite a bit with this rig, so I want you guys to be careful. And if you don't have the O-rings, you're going to tie a uni knot like that against the shank and trim the tag end. So pretend the shank is the hook eye, tie like a 5-turn uni knot, cinch it down tight, slide it up to where that little O-ring I have is here, and trim the tags. All right, so we're going to pretend that we have O-rings, which we do, and I'm going to get rid of that little uni knot just to avoid any confusion. Come on. All right. Now, take a length of braid and cut yourself 2 pieces. Give yourself about 8 inches a piece. All right. I use 50-pound Berkley Fireline tracer braid. Works great because it's alternating colors. Works great for me showing you guys on the video. Whether you use this stuff or not, I don't know. Whatever you guys got, scrap bin it. Take it. You know, I'm going to zoom in just a bit. All right, so you're going to take the 2 pieces of braid and you're going to pinch it to open it up. You want to open that weave. All right. Now, take one of the pieces of braid, and you're going to stick that hook point. If it freaking focuses, it's going to focus on that frog, isn't it? And stick that hook point through the weave of the braid. Hopefully you find center. Bring it up over the barb. And do that with the other piece too. Being careful not to impale your finger. Now, if you're using heavier weights, use the two pieces of braid like this. And then you're going to do it again if you're using heavier weights. If you're going up over 1/8 of an ounce, do this. You're going to just do it the same thing you just did twice. So you take the yellow braid here. That's the closest one to the barb. You just slid it over the barb. And do it again. And now you're going to go back in with the green. Is that right? Is that right? All right, so now you have this. It's starting to look pretty snazzy, huh? Now, at this point, pick the size weight that you want. I'm going to fish this in 4 to 6 feet of water. I'm not going to be moving it very quickly. So I can probably go down to 1/4 of an ounce, 1/8 of an ounce. And if I want a real slow fall rate, I can go down to even 1/16 of an ounce. It's up to you. You're going to take all 4 pieces of braid and slide it through. All right. Now, it's up to you if you want to add something to impact the tungsten weight. This specific rig is going to be fished on the bottom. So that extra clack might help. So I'm going to add a bead. And the nice thing about the bead is it acts almost as a stop. Some of the tungsten weights, if they don't use inserts, sometimes they have a large hole, which is part of the reason why you use the 4 pieces of braid. So I'm just going to trim that real quick, make the ends even. And any bead will do. Glass, plastic, these are those stupid force beads. They were on sale because nobody bought them. They're magnetic with tungsten too, so kind of I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. So I got those 2 pieces, and gotta get these 2 pieces now. Hopefully they make it. All right. It's at this point now we want to seal that off. So we're going to take and tie a figure-8 knot. This is basically a fancy way of saying a double overhand. So you go ounce, spots. I think that's 2. All right, now a little figure-8er, and you're going to kind of bunch it down nice and neat. And then when you pull tight, be very careful. I don't know what kind of weights you're using. I don't know how heavy the braid is that you're using, but when you pull this tight, you want to pull it pretty tight, and you want to make sure it doesn't break free. You don't want it to go over that weight. You don't want the weight to go over the knot, and you don't want to stab yourself in the process. All right, now I'm going to take it. I'm going to trim off the tag. And we're going to finish it off with another little O-ring over the barb. Not really needed, because the way this is rigged, there's almost zero possibility of it ever coming up and getting off, ever. but it kind of makes it like a factory finish look, right? So now we're going to go ahead and I'm going to zoom out, and we're going to finish off the Texas rigging of this bait. And again, some guys call Texas rigging different things apparently. Whatever, Texpose, Texas rig, you know, basically how you rig a worm. And whether or not want to go back in, boom. All right, now this is what the O-rings do. See how the weight's not going back? On the cast, it's going to push that O-ring back. Is it needed? It's up to you. The one in the chin, this is why you need to either have a piece of braid and tie that uni, or the O-ring. On certain baits, let me push this O-ring all the way to the top. On certain baits, they have a big chin. You see that chin is touching the shank? Sometimes, depending on the bait, this will get up top there. If that happens, all of a sudden now it's just going nose down. You lose that awesome flat falling effect. This bait will fall level. Its legs will fly like this. I'm Kermit the Frog! Yeah, it just did that. Alright, so this bait is ready to fish. You can fish with a clip. You can fish it tied direct, however you want. So what's going to happen, when this bait's on the ground, on the bottom, you're going to be crawling it and crawling it. That weight's going to drag. It's always going to stay like this. I don't bed fish. I don't purposely bed fish. I'll put it that way. But I noticed that I have caught plenty of Miss Piggies on this bait bed fishing. The biggest of the big smallmouth. When the toads come out, throw this up on the bank. Literally, throw it onto the dirt, onto dry land. If you're in the river, throw it, or across the bank, throw it up, drag it off the bank. At night, when the giant bass are out, throw it on the bank. When this thing goes when it hits the ground, those fish hear it. And while they may be, if it's a pressured body of water, if it's a park pond, maybe they're kind of attuned to footsteps, kind of like carp are. This ain't going to sound like a person when it hits the ground. It'll sound like almost a frog landing. You crawl that in the water, whether it's a pickerel or a bass, anything, pike, they'll even big channel catfish at night, even big flathead, even walleye. If walleye at night, they come right up on the banks. They'll crush this thing. This stupid Berkeley frog that they had to change the name because nobody freaking bought it is now it's a weapon. Whenever I see these on sale, I must have 30 packages of these. I buy them for $1 whenever they would go on closeout. Unbelievable bait. The Daiwa duckfin shad. I'll slow roll this. The big advantage over the keeled weight, gives a nice little body roll. Has a nice little spiral on the downfall. Same thing with the Jackal eye shad. The Jackal eye shad, they call it eye motion. You're supposed to nose hook this thing with these little weedless lead heads. Or this is a fish arrow. $8 for 3 of these things. I even upgraded the weed guard to a nickel titanium weed guard because the weed guard on it was useless. So you're fishing this little bait, this little hook. You have to use finesse gear for the most part. It's a finesse tactic. Light wire hook, small barb, so you have to have quite a bit of flex in the tip to have this stick and stay stuck. But unfortunately, you're throwing 6, 8, even 4 pound fluoro or mono. You can't ram a hard hook set. And if you do, imagine the fish biting down a big fish. We're not talking the small fish. I'm a trophy hunter. I love big fish. When they bite down and you're using finesse tactics, light tactics, you ram a hook set. Your line's coming out of their mouth. You ram that hook set. They bit down. It comes up to the back of their teeth, and all the hook set is trying to move the point of the hook. They bite down ahead of that. They're biting down. You're not moving. You're not moving it because their teeth, their back of their teeth, are blocking that weight from moving. When you rig it like this, you set the hook, there's nothing. There is nothing at all preventing you or preventing that hook point from moving. One of my favorite techniques in the mid-spring, early spring, when the smallmouth stage up on the flats or come up on the flats, when sometimes they'll corral shad up on in the shallow flats, 2 to 3 feet of water in some of the bays. Take this, I think this is a Ribster. It's Lunker City, I think. 1/2 ounce tungsten. Burn it. But make sure you have a long rod with a soft action. I use the 8-foot Steez AGS. It has nice, almost not a crankbait action, but a little bit slower action. Because when you're burning this back, use a heavy leader too. Use like 20 pound. Because you're burning this full speed, and we're talking 4 to 5 pound smallmouth. Blast it. 22, 23 inch bombers. Blast this when you burn it. I used to use a Terminator tungsten spinner baits. I'd rip them apart. I'd cut the titanium, heat the titanium, and and rebend the titanium, because I would want a willow leaf on a short arm, compact 5/8 of an ounce body, but I'd break them. I no longer use spinner baits to burn. I use this thing. It's more weedless. This is a 5.8 inch Keytech. I know you guys love your Keytechs. You can keep them. I don't fish them much. The only one I do like is the 5.8 inch. I think it's the fat. If you're fishing deeper water and you want to get down, put on a 3/4 ounce piece of tungsten or brass, doesn't matter. And now you can have a bait that swims level and gets down very deep. And the best part is, if you're a spy baiter, you already know how to control your presentation and keep it at a specific depth. You know how to bottom trace, right? Imagine bottom tracing and not losing a $20 lure. For real. Take out this. Take this out. Bottom trace with this. Now when you do impact that rock, tell me guys, when you're fishing a spinnerbait, when do you get the most bites? It's true. When you whack a branch, when you impact some sort of structure. Bottom trace with this. Let this stupid weight drag, knock off of something, trigger strikes. Certain times of the year in the rivers, algae is a major problem. I used to fish a lot of jerkbaits. I stopped. I don't like treble hooks. I don't like multiple hooks. A lot of places I fish, I would catch a lot of fish with treble hooks. Unfortunately, that trailing hook would usually find an eyeball. And on a 6, 7, 24 inch, 25 inch largemouth, a 24 inch or a 25 inch largemouth with a 19 inch girth, you don't want to hurt that fish. And when you catch a 7-pound largemouth, 24 inch, 23.5 inch, and you catch him again and you see his eyeball missing, and you know that you're one of the only people that fish there, you know that was your fault. So that's part of the reason why I started doing some of these little crazy little rigging techniques, because I wanted to go down to one hook. So this, just to give you an idea, in areas where there's a lot of algae in the rivers, so you have big trophy trout, big trophy brown smallmouth, or a trophy walleye fishery, you don't want to do damage. This right here, when you can't throw your minnow baits because the floating algae in the water in the current, or there's algae in the bottom, and if you're diving down 2 feet, treble hook gets fouled, that whole cast is now ruined. Or it'll foul in the lip, that bait's not wiggling back and forth, it's not darting when you're twitching. This right here, my first fish on the west branch of the Delaware River last year was on this specific rig. So no, I don't use this for drop shotting, which is what this is supposed to be used for. And no, I don't rig this bait, this Owner Nervous Rex, upright. Rig it on its side. It darts. And when you're working it in this specific bait in current, you can even rig this sideways too. It'll now almost have a, I don't want to say a flat fish, but it'll have a built-in action. Lots of cool ways that this bait is very effective. I wouldn't be wasting your time with it if I didn't use it. I can't remember the last time I put a worm weight ahead of the hook. Now, you flame me for that or not, you know, I just found that this is so much more effective. I know the waters that I fish, I'm pretty efficient at catching some fairly large fish at. Whether it would work in all bodies of water, I don't know. But I know for where I fish, rigs like this, and you know, it's 1/16 of an ounce weights, 1/8 of an ounce. These are, you know, I fish this size fairly often. And again, if you don't have braid and you just have like Fireline or whatever, you could do a cat's paw. But this is my final version of this rig, is with the braid. And again, this is with the lighter 1/16 of an ounce. And as a stop, I used a little tungsten 3mm fly tying cone head. And you can see it's a brilliant little design. It's very clean. It'll catch you more fish. I'm not bullshitting you. And again, I can't emphasize this enough. Try it. This isn't something, you know what? I guarantee you somebody thought of this. I can't be the only idiot on the planet that thought of this. But I know I'm one of those idiots that put hundreds and hundreds of hours in fishing it. And I know it works damn well. So, all right. With that being said, I greatly appreciate your time. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I know your time is valuable, and I don't want to waste it. Every minute you spend on my channel, I appreciate. And with all that being said, if you haven't subscribed already, subscribe. If you haven't liked this video yet and you're still here, hook a brother up and hit that like button. And if you subscribe, there's that little alarm bell that comes up afterwards. Click that alarm bell. That way, whenever I post a new video, you get a little pop-up on your lower right-hand side of your screen. A lot of my videos, most of my videos, are not clickbait videos, are not BS videos. I'm trying to make it so my channel isn't necessarily a living vicariously through watching other people fishing channel. I'm trying to make it more informative. And I thank you for your time. Peace out, Cub Scout. Later.